So I'm realizing that keys me up to do the obvious.
If I could type.
You're like, if only I had brought a laptop. Shoot. Okay, fine. I pick up what you're putting down.
I could take my best notes possible.
1 second while I bring up the
I've done
document.
it in hand before. But that was
No, because then you have to type it and it's a pain, so I might as well, I have the laptop right in front of me. Okay, so we do have a new member who's been officially added named Glenn Stevens. He has not yet been able to attend. I understand he's had some medical issues, so he's excused today. And then now we'll do the roll call. I'll just go this way. Juliana.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Ellen. Here. Roberta.
Here.
Okay, so let me just put these in. And therefore excused are Joe, Alex, and Bill. It sucks being the secretary and the chair. All right, and Glenn. Okay, public forum, no members are present. And so we cannot officially adopt the February 29th minutes because we don't have a forum to do so. We can unofficially go over the unofficial minutes from March 27th. As I understand, it was just Joe and Patrick, is that right? The two of you?
And yeah.
And Lindsay.
And Lindsay, yep.
I don't mean to exclude
But I'm not a
you.
member, so-
Right.
Right.
I'm not intentionally excluding
I'm
you.
not a member.
Yeah. Was there discussion that maybe you want to, I think you have the copy of the unofficial notes.
I mean, I think we had a presentation from Autumn Scott, so I think, if you want to go back and watch that, it might be worth it to watch it.
Potential resources for input into the Energy and Environment Master Plan. Okay, so like surveys and the like.
I'm trying to
Do you want me to-
remember.
It was more some getting a feel for the expert resources that we could do interviews with or
Oh, that's
have
right.
come to a regular meeting. So we covered a couple of different topics and a variety of people that she has contact with, she or SRPC has contact with and could arrange to come and just kind of give us some real life experience and guidance, recommendations, stuff like that.
Sounds good. So is there anything that we as the committee need to do for that, or?
Not at this time. From that meeting, we had some takeaways of kind of top priority preferences to line up first. And actually, Autumn Scott is leaving SRPC, so she's not going to be the contact for the energy chapter anymore. I'm not sure who is going to be stepping into that role. They have a number of staff involved in the master plan update. So once I find out who that's going to be, I will share that with all of you guys. So it'll likely be a different face that comes to the next meeting or comes to coordinate the next time. But they will be contacting those various people to set up interview opportunities, whether it's attendance and give like a 15-minute presentation and then answer questions, or if we set it up so that they meet with that smaller team for focus group that's working on the energy, transportation, and facilities and utilities.
Thank you for the update. I appreciate you keeping us abreast of that. You're our official attendee, right?
Yes.
For that, yeah.
And you can see on the minutes all the people that they recommended.
Yeah,
Oh,
and-
that's what that list is,
And the
okay.
organization that they come from and like what topics they would be able to speak to.
I don't know why I thought this, but I thought each one of these was like a group that was a different part of last meeting, not all within the same conversation.
No, it was all.
I was like, what are all these people doing there? Like, why did we miss the busiest meeting we've ever had.
No, that would be wonderful if they could all come at one, but the
Okay.
idea is that they could all come over the course of the next couple of meetings.
Sure.
Potentially, and provide some input.
Well, and as we're heading into summer, I know that it's going to be harder and harder to get people to show, but we still need to continue the work.
And I think it's also something for the committee to consider. It was suggested, I'm not sure if Joe or Patrick suggested, maybe as an alternative, if it doesn't make sense to try to have them come to regular scheduled meetings, we could at least make sure that those people are able to meet with Team 4 and answer questions, and then we can have some back and forth through that meeting.
Sounds good. Okay. The item I have, same thing, different wording, is you, Lindsay, you wanted to, let me just say, is there any other discussion on that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shut down. You wanted to lead us through generating energy questions for a community survey.
Yeah, so I have some draft questions. The challenge with developing the questions is that the next community survey that goes out for the master plan update is going to involve a handful of chapters. I think there's maybe 7. So we're limited to, I was told, 3 plus or minus questions. So I have some draft ones I'll pass around, and you can kind of read through, and then we can talk about what you like or dislike about them. If you have recommendations on adjustments to the wording to be more clear, getting at a response that we want.
Thank you.
And the idea is that these are just a starting place, so we can start to formulate what kind of feedback we need to get from the public.
Those are all good questions. I'd love to see all of them on there.
I kind of think that this really, if you had to boil down what we were trying to drive at in the 17 pages we came up with, that you had to put it into 4 questions. This is probably as best as you could do, in my opinion, so thank you. Does anyone, I don't know if everyone's got it.
Do you want to talk about them one by one
Sure.
and just kind of
Sure.
get some brief?
You want to just lead us through them and
Sure.
yeah.
So I guess for audience purposes, I'll read. The first question is, should the town of Newmarket invest resources, in parentheses, staff time and local funding, to design, construction, implementation of municipally owned energy generation projects such as photovoltaic arrays or hydroelectric power stations? And then the multiple choice options are strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, and I don't know. So with that one, the hope is that we could get some feedback on whether or not the community supports investing in these municipally owned energy generation projects. It's not necessarily intended to be limited to photovoltaic arrays and hydroelectric, but just to give some examples. So
That was really good.
I mean, the only question I have is with eventually when Newmarket Community Power has been in business for a while, they would have the ability to invest in something. I'm just wondering, I know people might just jump to the conclusion that somehow this would be like diverting or causing them to increase their taxes, even though it might not. But I just don't want to. I don't want to, I don't know.
Scare people off.
Yeah, I almost want to. Instead of saying invest resources, but then there's no way around if it's municipally owned. I mean, I almost want to just say, should the town of Newmarket promote implementation of municipally owned energy generation projects?
Or even investigate, research the feasibility of, like, is this just conceptually something that you want? I think you'd get a majority of Newmarket saying yes.
Yeah, I think as long as people didn't think that somehow it was going to add to their, because it sounds like we're spending like money, which might not be the case, right? It might just be that we're working with groups that might pay for the installation of some of that,
Well,
or
and-
getting grants or, other things.
Well, and the big thing is that, and it's going to take a while, but we will have revenue from
Right.
Newmarket Community Power that we can put back into a project.
And I'm thinking too about the option of developing it with other towns too. If we can't find a spot in Newmarket, partnering, right? So
Right.
then we're sharing the
And Durham's
cost
a
too.
like, right there.
Yeah.
Very, very, I think, likely to want to partner with us on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a way to word this to take out that possible fear.
Or at least
and-
wording to explain that the cost may be minimal or something, I don't know.
Mhm.
Just that there'll be other sources of funding than just taxpayers. Because right now it does read like Newmarket is investing its own revenue, which is taxes.
Or it could be like, should the town of Newmarket pursue,
Mhm.
Pursues, yeah.
municipally owned energy generation projects, or, because I do think it's a good idea. I mean, I think one of the things that I want to get across a little bit with the master plan is that, we, as we do move things to more electric in town, right? Whether it's electric cars or more electric heating sources for people in their homes, there's an increase in need for electricity. And so it would be good if Newmarket, anticipating that increased need, was doing something locally to either offset that, which is kind of in question 4, right, where we talk about improved efficiency, in the home, or we're generating electricity right here in Newmarket. I feel like I want to make sure that people are kind of thinking about that. Like that's something we have to think about in this master plan, because that's what's coming. So maybe it could even say, should we have a question that says, anticipating the need for more electrical energy sources or something? I don't know. I'm not good at wordsmithing it, but I'm just wondering,
Increased demand for electricity.
yeah, should Newmarket be pursuing ways to have municipally produced energy? Like, so we're producing energy here in town that's for the town, right?
I mean, and all of that is in what our recommendation was for the master plan, including the idea, which we didn't have the expertise to do, but that we should be projecting what our future needs are going to be and building
Right.
to that. Do
Right.
you know if they've discussed like how to even research that, or who to go to find that, if like?
The projected energy use needs, I don't know.
Okay.
Joe
Autumn-
brought it up, though.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
Autumn mentioned that that's something that SRPC incorporates in some of their community, I forget what they call them, snapshots, basically, about demographics. So they have some data for that. I think she reassured us that'll be part of the process.
Well, we had the data for the past trajectory to now, but
Right.
my point is, you could follow that line and extrapolate it out to the future, but that's not going to be as accurate as someone who really, like a consulting firm that really can research, because on the one hand, you're going to have more EVs, so that's going to be increased demand. On the other hand, you have more efficiency, so that's decreased. You may have a projected increase in population, so that's an increase. But there's
Putting it all together.
yeah, you have to be able to track all of those things, and that was something that we just were completely, wholly ill-equipped to try to do, but we knew that we needed it. But we can't build infrastructure, energy infrastructure, or project what our energy uses are unless we know what that's going to be. Okay, number 2, if no one else
Well,
is...
just working on a reword, maybe something like putting it together, anticipating the increased demand for electricity, should the town of Newmarket pursue the development of municipally-owned energy generation products, and the rest of it stays the same.
I do like pursue a lot because it kind of leaves the invest part open. It sounds like you might invest, but it's more philosophical.
Well, and it opens, because there is a variety of possible sources, right? It could be grants, it could be cooperative, grouping with private industry, maybe. There's a lot of
It could be a lot of
potential.
different things. But
Yeah.
we may also invest
Or
our
we
own,
might
that
almost-
might happen, right?
That might happen as well, that's true.
And it also opens up the question to people who might be turned off immediately by like, oh, are my taxes going to go up? No,
Right.
disagree. To, oh,
Right.
it seems like it's more of a theoretical thing.
Exactly.
I support that, yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
If we are done with one, Lindsay?
So for number 2, we have, would you support the town of Newmarket partnering with energy professionals offering energy efficiency audits to residents and businesses for both existing and new buildings, and offering tax incentive programs for energy efficiency improvements? And then the multiple choice answers for that one are strongly support, support, neutral, opposed, strongly opposed, and I don't know.
Would we be able to add to the energy efficiency element renewable energy systems as well? I know that was part of what our suggestions were.
In the last part of it, the offering tax incentives for programs for
Yeah.
energy efficiency improvements and
Renewable energy systems. We can't have an official vote on wording, but if anybody has other thoughts or a reason not to, or whatever, please speak up. Any other discussion on 2? All
I
right.
think that sounds good.
Okay, and then for the third one, it's a slightly different format, but the intent is that the question provides the opportunity for respondents to identify what they would consider to be high priorities, and the list here is taken from the action items that was in the draft chapter that you all put together. It's kind of consolidating a couple of the specific action items into maybe one bullet point that can encompass and make it a little bit more, we don't want to have it be 20 items long. So if there's any modification to any of these to be more clear on what the intent is with the various items, we could do that. Do you want me to read it
Yes,
all?
please.
Okay. So question 3 is, please rate the following actions to promote energy efficiency in the town of Newmarket on a scale of low priority to high priority. A, improve efficiency of low-performing municipal buildings. B, evaluate ways to reduce fossil fuel use in municipal buildings and vehicle fleet. C, identify opportunities to develop or use renewable energies to offset municipal operations. D, implement a behavior change program directed at town employees, in parentheses such as commute habits, turning off lights, etc. E, review/amend zoning and site plan regs to use principles of smart growth and sustainability in land use planning. F, implement a public outreach and education program on energy efficiency resources and conservation methods. And G, implement municipal incentive programs such as property tax exemption, PTE, for renewable energy and efficiency improvement projects.
I'm not entirely comfortable with implementing behavior change programs directed at town employees, especially in the area of commute habits. I mean, I can see asking to turn off lights in town facilities, but their commute habits, if they're not using town cars and we don't provide public transportation, why are we telling them?
It's
that they
personal.
should change?
I was wondering if that one could just be changed to something about public transportation or pursuing that, something in that realm.
So this so that one was the only one that I don't think was in what we had written. I understand
Yeah.
why it was added. All right, I'm not suggesting a change, but the thought that comes, well, the first thing is, the first several, I guess including E, do target town behavior, right? Or I guess E's kind of iffy because how you do land use planning is really something that affects the rest of the people in the town, not municipal buildings, right? So E and then F and G are affecting people, not municipal buildings and properties. So I guess that all of it is, you're saying all of Newmarket. The thing that I wanted to say initially is that the first two are like priorities of whether or not people in this town want to pursue, going green, essentially. This one is asking us to rate those actions from low priority to high priority, but I feel like there's actually, it doesn't require feeling. There's a lot of numerical, I think you can quantify which one of these or which ones of these are going to be the best save on electricity or whatever, you know what I mean? You're going to be, I don't know that turning off the lights is going to be as impactful as changing how you do land use. You know what I mean? Or so I think you can quantify. So I don't know that we necessarily need, does that make sense to people?
Yeah.
That we're asking for emotional opinion or, gut opinion from people on something that you can quantify though. I think, but maybe quantifying will be really hard.
So something we could do with this, since we're limited to the 3 plus or minus, we could remove this from the questions that we're putting in this round of survey and keep or develop something like this to target the community workshop as more of an engagement opportunity and activity. And SRPC, I don't know if any of you went to the community workshop, they can do a really good job of formatting the question in a way that provides a nice open-ended opportunity for people to provide this type of feedback and kind of prioritize or identify if things on this list are stuff they would consider priorities or not. So we could remove that one and save it for more follow-up when there can be additional back and forth and opportunity for that kind of discussion.
I like that idea. I think that makes sense.
Okay.
And it makes it a lot cleaner because that is a big, heavy question.
Yeah, and it's the one of these that is not like the others. So
Yeah.
Well, and it requires the most reading, right? And to actually put A through G in an order of priority is a lot of effort for the person. They might just decide not to do the survey.
Yeah. So I will make a note to save that, and we can revisit this and what the what the items or bullets are when we get to that community workshop timeframe.
If we can get, again, this is all theoretical, if we have some sort of consulting or research people that can do this, but get estimations on how much energy we're saving or how much green energy we can generate with these different things, then I think it makes sense to ask people, okay, which of these do you prioritize, knowing that you're only going to save this amount if you do a turning off the light program, but you're going to save this amount, or you're going to generate this amount if you do a property tax exemption, like, and estimating that is going to be so hard. Like, I don't envy the people who would have to do that, but I just think if we had better numbers or something quantifiable, then it might help people make decisions about how to prioritize it.
And just as a reminder, we currently do not add property tax to people who put solar panels on their house. That's
Right.
current policy. So we're not, it's actually not, we're doing it right now. It's not really a question.
But so that's not really an incentive, because it's just not they're not being penalized for it. Because
Well, no,
adding the solar panels increases their property assessment, but they're not, well, it doesn't increases their property value, but they're not increasing their assessment.
exactly. So they are gaining, people are gaining that. So if you put an array and the value of that array is $30,000-$40,000, you're not getting a tax on that $30,000-$40,000.
Right, you're not being penalized for that, but like, because
Yeah.
that's what, you'd be penalized normally if you added a $40,000 improvement to your home. You would
Right.
have to pay more taxes, but now you're not paying taxes on the solar panels, so that's great. But like, what can we do to incentivize? Because right now it's just, it's a wash. You know what I mean?
Not if it's increasing the value of your home by 40,000 and you're not paying, that would be huge.
You're paying the same taxes you were before you did the solar panels.
Yes, but when you
So
sell
you're-
your house, you're making more money.
Yeah, you're making more money. And you're getting a 30% federal subsidy for that solar panel array. So it's not like you're not getting anything under the current law, which will now be in place for many more years. You get 30% of that money back.
Well, and the thing that I've come back to over and over and over again, back when we were doing the Solarize campaign and everything, it was before most of you were here, is really for the high-end people who are going to be worried about, I'm going to sell this, I'm going to get $40,000 more when I sell it. Those people already have the ability, through those programs, to get solar panels if they want. The
Right.
people that we really, the market that's not saturated are the low to moderate income people. So
That's true.
anything we can do to help them out is really going to be the most bang for our buck. Anyway.
Right, so, but that would, yeah. I think we've talked about that, yeah, before. All right. Question 4?
Yeah, Lindsay?
Yes. Question 4 is, would you support the town providing incentives and programs that make renewable energy systems and improved efficiency technologies accessible to low to moderate income families and renters? And the multiple choice options are strongly support, neutral, oppose, strongly oppose, and I don't know.
Any discussion?
I like that one.
The only thought I thought about was maybe just take out renters and just make it would just be low and moderate income people, because they could be anybody then in the community. Wouldn't matter whether you were a renter or a homeowner, live in a mobile home or wherever you live. There's lots of different types of places. Because the only question I have about renters getting it would be, that really goes to the landlord if we improve their property and make it more energy efficient.
So in that 17 pages again, I think we tried to suggest a program that would force the landlords, if they accepted the incentives, to pass that on to the renters. I believe we said they had to go into a restrictive covenant to rent at workforce housing levels. So if you have like a $5,000, a month, it's not going to be worth the incentive to reduce your
Yeah.
rent that much. But if you're renting at, 15% above workforce housing levels, it might be worth it to you to take that incentive and decrease your rent or keep your rent low. So that was our offering for like, maybe this is how we get around the landlord problem. But, hoping that smarter people than us come up with better ideas.
Do you think that it should say renters in that question, because I'm thinking it could say low to moderate income groups
Yeah.
too, to just be all encompassing, because even families can be,
I'm
Right.
agnostic.
yeah.
Not that Patrick brought up this point specifically, but I do know there's like an anti-renter sentiment amongst some people. And they might, kind of like what we were talking about with question one, they might just balk at like, why should renters get this? You know,
Yeah.
they don't pay property taxes, which is of course just on its face untrue. But.
And those people may then
I mean,
say
there's
just
people who say renters
oppose,
shouldn't be
yeah.
able to vote. So like.
I've heard that in this town.
It's obscene. So maybe.
So maybe groups makes it more
I think-
neutral.
Well, I think we need to make sure, especially as we are becoming increasingly a nation and a state of renters, very much by design, there are companies buying up the housing just to make sure that they own it, and then people are forced to rent, and there is no starter home anymore. People can't buy. So I think it's important to include conceptually the idea as we move forward in what we do, to include making sure that we're taking care of renters in some way. Having said that, I don't know that it needs to be part of that question, because if you say low to moderate income people, as Patrick said, you're kind of including renters, and is it worth, pissing people off? Am I allowed to say that?
Well, and it might just get people thinking about just, do I want to help people that need more assistance? I think people understand that low and moderate income people have, traditionally in New England, this is a long time issue of assistance, energy assistance, right? We've always had LEAP and other programs to help people with, heating bills in the winter. So I think people understand that it's an issue for people, for sure. I think what we just haven't done, particularly in this state, is attack it from an energy efficiency standpoint, right? I mean, you only have to go one state over to Vermont, and they've spent money on it, and they turned around and they said like $4 billion of people's money in just helping them to, weatherize their homes better, so.
Right, because if you're going to help with assistance, fuel assistance or whatever, low-income people, then you should probably make sure that they're not leaking heat everywhere.
Exactly. But we've never really had a robust program like that here.
No.
So, I'm totally in favor of the town doing something to do that, because it's actually the easiest way to save energy. It's even cheaper than converting people to alternative sources.
Well, and very much like getting solar panels, and the market is the least saturated amongst low to moderate income people. Also, if I had to guess, the energy efficiency is the worst amongst low to moderate income houses. So if we want the biggest bang for our buck, it would be targeting them and improving their efficiency.
At
I'm
least
guessing.
if they're building new, they seem to get it. So the last two projects that we approved for apartments in Newmarket, one is a low-income senior housing project. They are entirely heating with heat pumps and doing all the most energy efficient things they can. They even, I believe, are going to have some solar on their roof.
Oh, nice.
So, and then the other project, which is market rate, also is using heat pumps entirely for. So it seems like the new projects are getting it a little bit more. Not all of them. There's still
But
some.
we have lots of old apartments, old
Yep,
buildings that
we
have
have
been
a lot of
converted
old
to
buildings.
multifamily. We have manufactured housing cooperatives. So like we've got plenty
Yep.
of
We've got
places
plenty of opportunity.
we
Yep.
can make things more efficient. Okay.
So I have for that one, just modifying the end to say to low and moderate income groups.
Yep.
We still, I think, if I can speak for everybody, are holding renters in our heart and want to
Yeah.
proceed forward. We just are a little bit worried about the tax thing in question one.
Yep.
Okay. All right, anything else before you?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The one thing I wanted to add with this, because I know there was a lot of conversation about focus on transportation and public transit within the chapter and just in general at meetings. And the transportation chapter, or transportation, is going to have 3 questions of their own, and there will be at least one that dovetails with public transit and energy efficiency with that. We haven't drafted that one yet because we haven't gotten to the transportation ones, but I want to make sure that you guys know that I didn't
Forget
include
about
it in this just because it's going to be still kind of tailored.
Perfect.
That makes sense.
It will be covered.
So are these surveys are going to be like hand read, hand tallied, like how is that?
It's the
good.
online one,
Oh, it's
right, that they
Yeah, it's
did
gonna
for the
be
other
done
chapters?
The same way the previous one was done for visioning, open space, and I forget what the third, housing.
Housing, yep.
Yeah,
housing.
so though it'll be put out in the same format, there were some lessons learned on a lot of the outreach for the first round that have been incorporated into the outreach for the next one, so that hopefully we can get even more participation, but we actually did have a good participation rate in the first one, so hopefully people are going to continue to stay engaged, and it'll be advertised through a lot of the town outlets, media outlets, the newsletter, the QR code, was postcards distributed out. I think the intent is that there will be postcard mailings directly to residents in some of the areas so that we can really get more participation, but it will all be online. And
I believe-
SRPC did the like demographics
Mhm.
and data sorting and aggregation after the fact to kind of distill down what the key takeaways were and how that's going to guide the process in the chapter development going forward.
And I think they're planning to do some public outreach, like they're going to go out in public to try and find people where they are. Because we talked about it at the last meeting because people get stuff in email and they're just like,
Yeah.
and it was also on the town website,
Hall,
town
library.
newsletter. Yeah, they were going to go library, maybe
school.
some sporting events.
Oh, the
They were-
backyard bash, that was another
Oh,
one.
yeah.
that
Yeah,
get
they're
a lot
gonna
of
go,
people there.
yeah, back here, they were gonna like try and go to community events to actually promote it there, to get people
That's
to
great.
do the QR code and take the survey, so.
My point in, oh, sorry, Julie.
Well, I was just going to say, you were asking about the compiling it too. I believe they use SurveyMonkey is what they use to
Okay.
build it. I think that's what, because we went through it all with the Conservation Commission already. And they were, like, we can get results in real time. Like, they were showing us, so many people already responded, and they were already showing us, like, the results coming in already. So it's really efficient, and like you said, they distill everything down and show us what's up with it.
Yeah, I've done through, not SurveyMonkey, but I've done a lot through like Google Survey. My point in asking that though was to ask, would it be too labor intensive to give like, additional thoughts box or whatever, like something that they, how about this idea or whatever? And is that going to open the door too wide to like, oh my God, if you get a flood of information, you can't sort through it, then there's no point in doing that.
I'm trying to remember if the last one had it had an open-ended
It
box,
did,
right?
it did.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
and it was kind of open-ended in terms of like visioning, open space, housing, is there anything we missed that
Right.
you wanted
Yeah.
to put in
I bet
there?
they would do that.
Just like additional ideas, thoughts, comments, anything like that, so. All right, are we done with discussing and not voting on the energy survey questions? All right. So the next thing I have, because that was the last thing on this one, the next thing I have is there any other updates? I mean, this is all built into the Regional Planning Commission work, but was there anything else regarding that I think you basically gave us in the beginning, the latest update, right? I think I just took it out of order.
That's right. The general for like the master plan update process, I think that covers everything. With this, I believe the schedule is to target completing this survey so it can go live in May. I'm not exactly sure what time, when in May, but I would say mid to late May. I think the next survey is supposed to go live, and it will be open for at least a month, if not longer. And then the additional opportunities for community engagement that we can build in some more of these questions and feedback will be in the fall. I don't think there is a specific time frame yet, but it will be in the fall.
Okay, excellent. The other thing I have, I'm going to pull up this email from Peter Nelson, who's the former chair, is, you may have seen his email. He's asking for us, again, on behalf of SRPC, I think, to brainstorm locations for electric vehicle charging stations. So I'm just going to read this, forwarding this along with the idea, yeah, because he only sent it to me, Joe, and Bart, I guess, with the idea that Newmarket should be identifying additional sites for electric vehicle charging stations. The parking lot on Bay Road comes to mind as a potential candidate, plus I have others in mind, like a public DC fast charger at the DPW facility. Can we come up with a prioritized list and map of potential locations, especially as it might apply to getting some DC fast charging infrastructure installed in Newmarket? And this was on the Colin Lentz email. Yeah, he had emailed New Hampshire Departments of Environmental Services and Transportation are applying jointly for a discretionary grant through the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Program. They are looking for potential sites to include in their application. I've attached a list of local sites I had on file. I have already sent the list. Please review it. Let me know if sites on the list need to be edited or removed, if you have new sites for consideration. Things to note. Proposing sites is not a commitment to build them. Sites should be able to accommodate at least 4 chargers. And in the attached list, focus on the site location, ownership, number, and type. Since I've now said it, I can forward this to everybody. Also, since you already went through this, if you could email us the questions now that we've discussed it in public meeting. Forgot to say that earlier. But so I can take a note of, if we have any thoughts about where.
Where does he suggest in it? Does he say?
So he said the parking lot on Bay Road.
Parking lot on Bay Road.
Which
don't know.
It's right across from the pump station. That's just, once you go past the driveway for Bryant Rock, there's the pump station, and then there's a little parking lot across the street from that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that a municipal parking
It is,
lot?
yep.
Okay.
I mean, I like where the, there's only one there right now, but there's one behind the library. That's that lot where, that services Weaver's Row is the most, that's our biggest parking lot, and it has the most turnover and most people coming from out of town to patronize things in the market. So if we
We
could
can also
put,
do on street, like we've been so much on street parking, there's nothing, maybe the size of building the station on the sidewalk, I don't know. But especially on the other side of the road, the mill side of the road, I think the sidewalk's broad enough in a lot of places it could accommodate.
And I can't really think of anywhere outside of downtown that would make sense, right? There's,
the only other places I could think of were possibly one of the school parking lots, because they're big.
Or there's that little piece, like the Rite Aid police station area somewhere in there, maybe.
That's a good idea, yeah, somewhere over
I was
there.
thinking there too, yeah.
I don't know if there's any, obviously the town has the land of the police station, but I don't know.
Well, but right behind that, they have the, what is that place? It's like the senior
Yeah,
recreation,
you're right, yeah.
sunset.
Yep, that's true. Or maybe at the rec center is another good idea.
It's a little further back, yeah.
It's further back.
There is one at the rec.
There's
community
one
center.
at the rec center. And there's 2 down at the boat landing.
So I am going to loop the whole committee in on this email. And I'm going to ask Peter if he would please share his other thoughts or present to us, if he's willing, next meeting.
Yeah.
Would that be anything you'd want me to ask the Conservation Commission
That'd be great.
about? I can bring it up.
Now,
Yeah.
he says, it may be a moot point, because the part of the email said that they wanted the ideas by Friday, as in this
Oh.
Friday. We just got the email, but I'm still going to, email
Yeah.
everybody.
Well, I would definitely give them whatever those places we gave you. Weaver's Row, parking lot. Yeah, I think we could put some on street. The only problem with putting them on street in downtown is we already have a problem with people not turning over the parking spaces fast enough. But, yeah, and the Sunrise Sunset Center is not a bad idea.
If I may chime in on this. I did receive that email from Colin earlier this week, and Bart and I discussed and identified.
Oh.
I responded to Colin with Town Hall because this parking lot in the back that the town owns was part of the discussion with the facilities, the facilities update, considering renovation and addition here, site improvements including EV station, and that would also support eventual transition of town fleet vehicles to
Makes sense,
EVs.
yeah.
So I suggested this one. We did not recommend Bay Road because the current size and configuration would not support 4 chargers. And that was one of the things they were specifically requesting in this. The other 2 municipal locations that Bart and I identified were the Beach Street extension,
Yeah.
the old senior center. There's plenty of parking space there that could be retrofitted. So that was considered as a future retrofit opportunity. And then DPW was another one. There's not currently a public parking lot at DPW. There are a few spaces in the front, so there's not a good spot to put 4 in there, but that is a site that we would consider retrofit in the future. So those are, Town Hall was the one that we actually already sent back, and Colin will add in the list that goes to DOT and DES. If
All right.
there are others, we can certainly share that.
No, that's, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on y'all's toes. I didn't know that you
Totally
guys
fine.
had done that. I just got the email from Pete.
I saw the short deadline on it, so.
I'm
Art
glad you
and
did.
I had the discussion.
We
about it.
didn't have that, we didn't have the ability to respond. Said that, it seems that, I'm just, sorry, I'll finish that later. Okay, so with that, I think we're on to, mine is on here. We're on to other business. Do y'all have any other business? I had a couple of thoughts.
The only thing I had was Ellen Snyder did forward me an email at the beginning of the month wondering about doing something around waste in Newmarket, and
I was going to bring that up.
and if the committee would be interested in figuring something out we could do. She shared it's a whole newsletter she shared with me over email, something she follows, and it was just, I guess, little ideas to do town-wide initiatives. And if we weren't able to do that, should the Conservation Commission look at it when we get a breath of air from the master planning. But I think it's something that we could definitely look into.
So, a couple years ago, and I don't even know if anybody was on this committee except for me at this point, we talked about, we had all this energy stuff. We had just adopted the resolution. We hadn't yet done any of the other stuff with the energy and the community power and the master plan and all that. And we were talking about, but we also want to deal with waste. And then tertiarily, we talked about water, but that's way down the list. But waste we really wanted to do because we had inklings, reports that, we all know that things that are supposed to get recycled aren't getting recycled, and there's no buyers for recycling, and how much is actually getting recycled versus what is not getting recycled. And then where is all this going? Is it the most efficient? And then some people had actually toured some facilities and were really let down with what they were seeing happening. It's just not as much as you think kind of thing. So the idea was we were going to tour at least our facility, get information, but maybe tour several different companies and see what options there are, and can we be doing better? And then adjacent to that, we talked about doing with the high school sustainability club, or whatever they call the green club there, We wanted them to help us with a PSA to help educate people how to recycle. What's recyclable, what's not, and all of those things. So, all of that fell by the wayside because of the energy stuff. Now that the energy stuff is, not out of the way, but we're over the hump for our responsibility of it, I would like to take that back up and see maybe if the Conservation Commission would like to go on a field trip with us, tour some facilities, and discuss, what's in Newmarket's best interest in terms of being sustainable. Is it staying with our current, system? Is it going to somebody else?
So that'd be like touring waste facilities, like where our stuff is going and looking at other options on where it could go. I know it can get very discouraging because what is the statistic is like 80% of plastic recycled stuff doesn't actually get recycled.
Right.
What, did you guys have something in mind?
No, this was
You just said waste and.
just an
that was it?
email I got from Ellen
Okay.
on April 9th. We have not discussed it because we are so deep into master plan
Yeah.
stuff right now.
Right, so if you want to bring that up to her, and if she wants to contact me, maybe we can, maybe over the summer, I know people will be like, not a lot of time over the summer, but maybe we skip a meeting or go to because we have usually done every other month over the summer. And then just instead of a meeting, we'll do a field trip or something.
Yeah.
We'll talk
We
about
had our waste provider, so when you put your recycling out on the corner, that's Casella, that's who our contract's with. We had them come to the Conservation Commission when I was on it, and they gave a presentation, and glass wasn't getting recycled at all. It was getting crushed and put on the road at the waste facility.
That's so disappointing.
Plastic was not getting recycled because China stopped taking it. Aluminum gets recycled, cardboard gets recycled because there's markets for those in the U.S. that are strong. And you can take aluminum can and make it into another aluminum can relatively easy.
What about steel cans?
There's no, you can't even recycle plastic. It's so
No.
much cheaper to produce a new bottle of plastic than it is to recycle.
Along those lines. No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is the overall thing that we came away with at that point was we need a campaign to urge people not to use anything plastic.
Yeah.
I know other towns have gotten drastic and said, we will no longer sell plastic bags, we'll no longer sell plastic drink bottles, but I would at least like to let people know, you're putting stuff out on the curb, it's not getting recycled. If you really care about plastic, especially with us living near the ocean, was the whole theme of Earth Day this year was plastic in our environment, is you have to just stop buying things in plastic.
So, and this is kind of...
Only option.
No, it's 100% true. I've mentioned before, I am the state lead for New Hampshire for the National Caucus of Environmental Legislators. And we have a national conference in August, which I will be going to this August. And so separately, anything you want me to take there and get information about, and it's going to be everything, it's like you name it, it's there in terms of environment, right? So it's green energy, it's waste, it's plastic. I spoke with, and this a couple of years ago, Judith Enck, who was under the Obama administration, high up in the EPA, who started Beyond Plastic, which is a big organization trying to stop the use of plastic, and worked with her. Now, I had already put in something that is called extended producer responsibility. I don't know if y'all are familiar. So that is essentially a fee on producers. So like, let's say Coca-Cola, however many bottles they sell in New Hampshire, because as you said, it's cheaper for them to make a new one than properly dispose and recycle an old one. So you essentially say you don't get to externalize your costs of production onto towns who then have to pay to dispose and can't pay to dispose of it properly. You have to pay according to how much waste you're producing and the cost of properly disposing of that waste, whether it's recycled, whatever it is. And in and of itself, that fee becomes an incentive for them to reduce their waste, make more compostable waste, for single use and packaging and all of that. So I put that in before I spoke with Judith at the 2 years ago conference. I then spoke with her. She's like, yeah, this is exactly the right direction. This state and that state have been trying, but they're like, weakening their bill, but this is the right thing to do. Since then, there have been a couple attempts on the state level, but I intend to keep pushing it on the state level. Because what that would do is basically take all those fees that all the producers, and it's whatever brand is on the packaging itself. So it's not whoever Coca-Cola hires to make the bottles. It's Coca-Cola because that's their name that's on the package when it gets sold. And there's other states doing this. But those fees go to the state, who then disseminate it out to the towns to properly dispose of all the waste. So, anyway.
One other idea I have on the topic is, I don't know that we have a refillery nearby, Dover maybe, but somewhere that offers being able to grocery shop and not buy plastic. I know it can be thought of as something that's more bougie and not accessible, but if it was, somehow we could incentivize a business to do something like that.
Well, it's definitely, you're right on that. You have to provide people what are my alternatives if I want to avoid plastic. So you definitely have to let people know, because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to avoid plastic in the shopping markets that we have here. Even if you go to the expensive ones, they don't offer that much.
No. Yeah, and I think refilleries are definitely something that's popping up. I've seen in New Hampshire a little bit, but it's not common.
No, it's not common.
Yeah.
So if you just want to tell Ellen, she can call. It'll be a meeting of the Ellens.
Yeah.
We are, since we're past our hump with energy, this is something we've wanted to take up in the past, so let's investigate together how Newmarket can be doing waste better, and maybe do a field trip over the summer.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. I had one other thing, which is the town of Merrimack, which has gone through a lot in terms of environment stuff, because they are more or less ground zero for the PFAS in water thing, and the cancer cluster and all of that. The town government there is very oppositional to anything environmental, apparently. So the people of Merrimack have created their own environment committee, kind of analogous to us, but it's a citizen-led thing, not a town-led thing. And so they're looking for town partners to link arms with. So I already offered us to them, just, I may have been speaking on behalf of Newmarket, but I was like, just let us know if you need anything. They are holding, if anyone's interested in doing this, is their first thing is this citizen-led environment committee. They're holding an electric vehicle fair, and they have all these different people bringing all the different makes and models of electric vehicle, including my personal favorite, Zero motorcycles. And if anyone's interested in that, I can send it out to the committee, if anyone's interested in going to that fair. But I figured I would give a shout out to Merrimack and let you all know that we're in their corner. All right. Does anybody have anything else?
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge Tony Weinstein's efforts for the Newmarket Cleanup Day. They picked up over 106 bags worth of trash across the town. Over 50 people, 50 different groups of people participated.
That's awesome.
And all that is a record high number of
I saw the bags on the side of the road.
Yep.
It's great. Fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tells you what gets thrown out. I'll tell you from experience, having done this, and then did it.
Which is wild, because we're one of the cleaner states, to be honest, right? There's states that have a lot more trash on the side of the road.
It's almost all, 90% of it is drink related. So it's cans, cups, nip bottles,
I'm finding a lot of those disposable vapes now too, the electric batteries.
Yeah, I didn't find,
That's
I think we
awful.
picked
Found
up
one
a
of
couple
those, yeah.
empty packs of cigarettes, but not
Yeah,
a lot
that's-
of that. More
It's drinks,
drink-related
yeah.
stuff. mostly,
majority.
and you notice it wherever there's not a house on the street. That's where they throw all their stuff.
Between, yeah.
Yeah,
just
like a
toss
woodsy
it.
area, they'll
Yep.
throw all the trash there, and then you'll go in front of people's houses, and it's pretty much clean, and then, yep.
And if you step off too, like kind of deeper in, that's where I
Yeah.
was really
Oh,
finding
yeah,
like.
yeah, you can find it under
Yeah.
the leaves if you dig around.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a
Interesting.
really good effort to do that, and I think the town looks a lot better. So,
All right. Anything, thank you for bringing that up,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
obviously, it's an awesome thing. Anything else before we adjourn? We're right at the 1 hour mark. All right. I hereby adjourn our meeting, and I will see you next, what is the day? It is the last Wednesday in May, is the 29th of May, and is everybody cool for that? 29th of May,
Looks
Wednesday,
like it's
last
okay
Wednesday?
for me.
At that meeting, we can discuss what our summer plans, in terms of every other month or whatever might be. All right, thank you.